stream the meeting. Where's Tony the Champion? Darnell should be on any second.
Wonderful.
Hey, we're live.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Hold My Beer, Thursday, May 13th. I am here with Aaron Smedick.
Yes.
Smedick. Okay, it's always been Smetak in my mind, so that's what I'm always going to call it. So I just pronounce things how they are. Of course, WJ's in the house. Well, Jenkins.
How we doing?
Rocking the Molo Polo. Hey, I rock the circle garb. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Man, I'm
Are we
just trying to. What's up?
Are we competitors yet?
I mean, kind of, but yeah,
You
definitely.
guys on our level yet, or what?
Oh wow, okay, so that was aggressive.
Hey, this is a Budweiser, son.
Oh man, I don't know. We just got is that a Keystone? You love
I
that?
believe it is.
That's beautiful. We just got a nice little recognition from Inc. Top
Hold
work.
on, man.
That's fun.
It's
Yeah.
cool when that stuff starts rolling in because
Yeah.
it makes it real. Because
Yeah.
like for a while, it's just like you're just grinding, and then you see this stuff and you're like, wow, what? I remember the first time we got the I think it might have been 2 years ago. We got the top 40, that top 50 thing or whatever, and like it just hit like because 2018 just boosted us, and it was like, what just happened? Like, am I important now?
Dude, it's crazy. It's kind of I was having a call and just talking about the progression of our business, and you're like saying these things out loud. And you're like, I can't believe that these are the things we're saying, that they're accurate, right? It's always, the dream or the idea that you had for the business, but they've come to fruition. So it's been fun. But yeah, we still got some work to do. So you know the deal.
Oh yeah, dude, it just keeps going. Of course, Tony goes, email me the link. I lost it.
Oh no.
You know what I deal with Aaron? And Tony's a great guy. But geez, Louise. All right, I think I got him. All right. All right, so he should be coming on here any second. Wait, hang on. Somebody trying to join? All right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about we're talking the broker and shipper relationship. So my roles changed a little bit. I've always, even though I oversee the trucks, I've always still been involved in the brokerage just because I help develop it. And obviously we try to use trucks on our own brokerage rate, whatever. I've kind of transitioned roles a little bit, and I'm still overseeing that side of things, kind of the mentor side, growing somebody up from that end, developing some offices. Aaron's coming on board for our Phoenix, Arizona office. I've got an Iowa office, Cedar Rapids there, Iowa City, or side brick and mortar with it. But I got 3 more I'm developing. So kind of being able to pull out and not be so much in the weeds a little bit and kind of mentor and grow and help people scale their teams and what they're doing. And so look, involved in the brokerage side of things, which I know Tony loves. But anybody that has RCA headphones loves brokers. I don't think there's any way around it. See,
You leave my headphones out of this.
fine, this would be great. This is why she watches this. So Erin's been in town training. She's come on board Circle, so she's here for 2 days. So that's our special guest for sure. She's here, so I say, hey, jump on. Enjoying Fort Wayne, Indiana, because it's just great. Tony knows all about it. It's just there's like a building or two. There's some tall ones downtown and some shorter ones that aren't downtown, and there's some restaurants.
I got a buddy that went to school downtown there, and I heard some sirens. I said, what is that? The cops chasing the gangs? He said, no, it's the gangs chasing the cops.
Easy.
He said they turned the lights on to get out of town.
Fort Wayne, Indiana was voted like one of the safest places to live. And it's like a 2-block, like, where it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, it's like 2 blocks. If you go in that 2 blocks, like, you just,
That's where his school was.
I'd rather have it be. It's predictable. You know what I mean? So, hey, Tony's on. Good. So we can make fun of the shipper. But no, we're gonna talk. Tony, I want you to start it off by telling us about, you know what? Let's do this. You always talk about that TQL rep you had.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I always say this, right? TQL, Landstar, whatever, right? Everybody has their things. But when it comes to those types of companies, it comes down to the rep, right? If you find a good rep, am I right? Well, right? You just got to find that rep, right? And that happens when you scale, right? Because you lose, when you go so many satellite offices, you lose that culture can only go so far, right? Me and Will we're still in the stages of where everything's kind of tucked in. It's all culture still. But what did that rep there that again, surprised a lot of people when you say TQL, but like, what do they bring to the table, and what do you see in me that you really like?
In you, Aaron, thanks for coming on. Sorry, get out of the comments and get on camera. That's awesome. You're definitely helping that square.
Moving up.
So yeah, I didn't know what in the world I was doing. I just knew that back then, every time I used a broker, they let me down. Every time I used a carrier, it went through. And I was like, man, these guys are idiots. What? And I didn't understand what a broker was. I didn't know anything about it. But then this guy comes along and offers to solve these problems. And I was like, well, it sounds pretty good to me. Right? I'm an easy sell. Back then when I had freight.
Whatever.
I love that caveat every time. It's amazing.
My inbox blows up every Wednesday.
Guy shops at Costco now. He thinks he's all special.
Yeah, my quarter zips out on the hanger. Sorry. So this guy comes on there, and this was before LinkedIn and all of this, and this was in the old days, and he says, hey, I can help you right out. All right, I'm new. I'm willing to give him a shot. I let him do it. And I tell this story all the time, and it got to the point where I started relying on him. He made me look good. He made me look better than I was. And I love the guy. He's in another industry now, but he had a long career and headed up some offices and all over the country. Dude, I kept up with his family. I know about his kids. The story that I always go back to is I'm at this, it wasn't Bed Bath & Beyond, but it was some similar store to like that on a Saturday morning. And I get a call from our GM owner, whatever. And he says, hey, I got to have this shipment out. So I'm like, it's Saturday, right? I'm at the store with my wife and we're shopping for towels or whatever. And then he's like, nope, it's got to happen. Make it happen. I'm like, yeah, probably not going to happen, but I'll see what I can do. I hung up. I called this dude. He's like, hey, I got it. Don't worry. I'll call you right back. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. So this dude calls me back in 15 minutes, gives me a price that's the same as every other week that we had gone to the same place on a Saturday morning, and we had it covered. And I just had to send a guy in there to load the truck. It was so easy. And that's what it was about for me. Ever since then, that day, that dude was, first of all, he was a hero to the company that I was working for. And personally, he was a hero to me because he took care of the stuff that I couldn't handle. I didn't know who to call on a Saturday morning. So I called the one guy I knew that would answer. That's really weird, TJ.
What's really weird, Tony?
You're going black and white and then sunglasses.
What are you doing?
No, but that's the key. So that's what I found is that I've always talked to people about being that go-to. Once you establish that being that go-to person, or they can call you at any time of the night. And listen, it's going to take a grind at first, right? It's going to take that extra effort, right? But with anything, you get efficient. You start learning their freight a little bit more, maybe being ahead of it. Because obviously then you're even sorting carriers, the lanes, even the shippers and receivers you start knowing. But the big thing is that you make them look better. And I try to talk to the account managers all the time about that. I'll hear them come to me and say, oh, this shipper I'm dealing with, they're a mess over there. They're scattered. I'm like, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because that means that's an opportunity for you to jump in and help, right? You can jump in and make them look good. If they're scattered and they're all over the place, listen, this freight market, there's a manual and supply chain for how to, do shipping and receiving. This freight market's not part of that manual. All right. Mm-hmm. So, I've helped shippers come up with new shipping processes and ways of doing things and helping out. And even if they say no to it, just the fact that you're bringing them an idea is key to them, because at the end of the day, especially if you're a broker and you're dealing with the load planners at that level, they've got bosses they got to answer to. Right? They got to justify their rates. They got to justify whether or not a shipment was able to get out on time or pick up on a Saturday, right? And if you can give them something to bring back to their management, and you look, they'll start leaning on you. When they start leaning on you, that's where that relationship builds. That's where they start coming to you before they send out the spot bids, right? That's what you want, right? Hey, TJ, I haven't set this out yet, but do you have a truck for me? I wanted to ask you first, right? Those are the key times, and Aaron can attest to that. That's what Aaron's all about. Touch a little bit about on that, Aaron. One big thing that you have talked to me about is listen to this. So I'm doing her interview. He goes, hey, I just wanted to see if it's okay, but like I'm the type like when I go on vacation, I still work. Is that okay? And I'm like, what? Absolutely, it's okay. Like I'm dealing with the opposite right now. Like, yeah, absolutely, and like she like literally like narrowed it down to like a week in July in which she has like a baseball thing she does every year and that she calls her phone. I'm like, you're good, you're good, you're good. But that comes from that dedication to it. Am I wrong?
All right.
What are your thoughts, Aaron? Talk to us.
Well, coming from the LTL world, it's a little different with brokers and shippers. Yes, you still need to worry, and I worry about every shipment that I book as if it's my child.
So do I.
And
I worry about every shipment I book. I hear you.
Yell at your kids in the background, Tony.
and I watch it every day. And it seems lately, because of capacity, that the carriers have been screwing me over. And so then I look bad, and then my clients look bad. So that's when truckload would be nicer to deal with, because then it's from point A to point B, and there's no in between. There's no terminals to worry about. It's just from one place to the other, and that's it.
Yeah. The amount of carriers that you can utilize in full truckload allow you to vet those and find those people you can rely on, right? And that's what you want, is carriers you can rely on. That way, they're making you look good, right? As a broker, right? You're always looking for somebody who's going to make you look good, right? So if you always look at that as an angle, like what can you do? Mike Meany talks about that, his sales process. He does a different type of sales process in which, and what he's selling and how he's doing it. But that's what he's doing, is he's coming in and saying, hey, how can I make you look better? How can I make your company look better? Your process look better? All of it. I know what I'm doing. I can look through this and find stuff that you may not even know that makes a difference. And, at the end of the day, transportation is just another part of the sales process in the big world. It's another part of Pierre selling water bottles to, Meyer or something, at the end of the day, right? And the transportation is part of it. They just chalk it up as a cost, and Pierre Water is going to create their water bottles, and they're going to send them to Meyer, and they're more worried about that than they are hey, here's a budget, here's a transaction here, but there's still somebody that has to work that, right? There's still a job title in there. What do you see in that, different dynamics on that, Will, up where you're at?
So one thing that I've noticed a lot is you can see a huge shift in an account rep to rep. And I would kind of point that to what Tony was talking about in terms of being able to have someone that you can rely on. So I've seen accounts that you have someone land, and then maybe you have a really skilled account manager that understands the ins and outs of it and spends time building those relationships. And whether it's a text that's personal to get to know someone, or you just call your contact and you're just getting to know them on a personal one-to-one level, that typically ends up, one, in a better relationship, but two, you end up being able to circumvent the price battle. And gosh, can you come down an extra 25, whatever bucks, right? If that person trusts you and you know them on a significantly better level, obviously you have to execute and service the freight first, but it really comes down to being able to essentially build that relationship and being okay with that, because people work with people that they like. And so always service first, right? You have to make sure you execute the shipments. And if you don't, you're not going to get the opportunity to build that relationship. But once you do that, you've got to find ways to really get to know who you're working with. And so it's a people business. It always will be. I don't see really any scenario where we're not leveraging the relationships that we have. And, when you build the right relationships, people come through for you. So I'm a big advocate of finding a way to make whoever you're working with look really good in their role. And if you do that for them, they end up wanting to work with you more. So my stance on it is always finding a way to just dig in and understand what matters to them as a person. Because if I'm working with Tony and he's like, look, my boss is, jumping at me about this particular project, right? I need someone that's reliable, that'll get it done. If I'm the person that he always comes to last minute, lead time, whatever, and I get it done, he's not even going to shop. No, ask anybody else, come straight to me and say, hey, can you get this done? And I'm going to say yes. So building those relationships, I think, is the key part. But it's so easy in this industry to kind of move too quickly and forget to spend that time, digging in with people, which is a big piece of how you grow your book and stuff like that.
Amen, man. Amen. That's right on, Will and Aaron. Also, I know, like when I was young back then, when I started with Ryan at TQL, you know, I didn't know anything. I know a lot more now, but I got a long way to go in learning new stuff. There's so much more out there that I don't know, but I didn't know that a carrier could, or a broker or whoever could give a load back. I gave a load out once and they gave it back like the next day. I called them up. They just never showed. I called them up. And I'm like, hey, where's the truck? You guys said you were going to pick it. Oh, yeah, we can't cover that. What? You can't do that. You told me you got it. This is your load. I don't have a backup. You are it. And it just, it was insane. I didn't know you could do that. I was so new. I had no idea that people would give loads back. You know, I have to answer for every single load. You know, the sales guy is on, he's got my number. The customer's got his number. And, you know, if it flows downhill, I'm at the bottom of the hill in a hole.
Yep.
And they were always calling me at night, on the weekends, and the evenings. It didn't matter. Why is my stuff not there? I picked up the phone one time in the office, and it was literally a customer who had called our shipping line. And it wasn't hello, it was where the F is my product? And I'm like, hi, who is this? You know, I'm just expected to know who it was. And the relationship, the key to that relationship is knowing that I'm the one that's going to get that call. I have to answer for that one way or the other. My job is on the line. We are as good as our last shipment and our last shipment only. And if you're okay with that and you can work in that scenario, then great, we'll partner up and you can be reliable. But if you have a fail rate where you give loads back, or you say you can't cover something, or if I can't count on you, even in a tight capacity market like this, there's ways around that. There's ways to make sure that, you know, if capacity is the key, then price isn't an issue. If price is the key, then capacity is going to be an issue. I mean, it is what it is. I quit shopping price a long time ago when I learned how to move freight.
Mhm.
I think a lot of what you just talked about there has to do with, do the people you work with have empathy for who they're working with, right? So if I understand that your customers are going to be hammering you if your product isn't where it's supposed to be, or you're going to look bad, or you're going to be in jeopardy for what you're doing, and I have empathy for that, I'm going to execute what I need to execute for you because I don't want you to look bad, right? And so there might be times where, yeah, the rates aren't good. They're not in line with where the market's at. And if you're building the right partnership, you're going to ride that out and make sure that you do what you have to do to be able to service that freight. And if you do it the right way, it's a long-term game. Eventually, this market's cyclical. It'll come back. It'll be where you need to be. And if you have the right relationships, which is where you break that wall down, I could call you and say, look, man, you know, it's crazy right now. Are there any other opportunities that I can take a look at outside of what we're seeing right now that people are dropping off, right? Because what we have right now is tough. It's challenging. Okay, great. But y'all are doing a good job. And you get a chance to see more business that kind of evens that out. But like, if you don't have empathy, you'll never get there. Like if I don't care, you know, or all I care about is making money or that price piece, like it's just never going to work.
But that strategy too, that mindset, you know, what made me a better broker was the fact I started in dispatch. Because I always remember saying, you know, the best drivers out there, the best drivers I ever had, owner operators that I dispatched, told me about their issues and their problems after they solved them. So drivers are going to complain. And you would too, right? You're out in a truck. That's what they do. Drivers complain. All right. And you would too, right? You're out in the truck by yourself. You deal with all these issues at the shipper receiver. But the guys that would call me, the good drivers would call me after. I say, hey, man, did you get unloaded? Oh, yeah, I got unloaded. Well, I showed up there and this happened in there. And then they came out here and I slid the thing underneath there and showed them how I had a back around in there. And, you know, I got it unloaded. I got the bill. I'll send them over. You know, hey, do that, it handled. Right? It's the guys that call me and they're, oh, I'm here I don't know where to go. You know, I'm like, is there a guard check? Yeah, we'll go to the guard check. Okay, well, do I just check in? Or like, I don't know. I remember my first day driving. You know what I mean? So, you know, but that's the difference, right? And so it's the same thing I think with customers is like, hey, I could go to you and I could be like, hey, Tony, hey man, there's an issue. You know, there's a pallet here that didn't get dropped, you know, or whatever, something like that. Okay. You know, or I could say, hey, Tony, we got to the second stop. They didn't take one of the pallets off. They said it went back to the first one. I went ahead and sent the guy back. We got it back to him. I talked to the shipper or the receiver already. He's good to go. Or, hey, this guy said that they can just FedEx it back. It's not a big deal. They'll hold on to it for him. But that's handled. He's on to the next stop. Just wanted to let you know. Right?
Yeah, already done.
He doesn't have to dig in and take a bunch of bullshit from his from his receivers or from his customers, right? Because I already handled it. And they know that I'm on the phone scrambling real time, and they appreciate that too, a lot more than it going to a third party, going to Tony and him calling over, not really knowing all the information, looking like an idiot. Nobody likes that.
Now, who's got what skid where now?
Yeah. I don't know. My broker just called me, said something about a skid. I was supposed to figure it out for him. That's a feeling right there where he's thinking, I don't want to work with this guy anymore. He may not even think I don't want to work with this guy anymore, but the guy that does do it, he's thinking, I want to work with this guy again.
Right.
That's the key right there, is that natural instinct of saying, hey, I want to lean on somebody who's going to take care of me moving forward. And what that does is it opens up opportunities, just like what Will said. Everybody talks about RFQs. Oh, these RFQs, and if you really get in tune with what they want and what they're actually looking for, and you take a minimal amount to just make sure you're not overcommitting and you're working with that. And you may take some shitty lanes at first, maybe, but you're working to, it's our job we're going to price them, we're going to source them. But that work you put in, I'm telling you, everybody else that just filled out that RFQ and got awarded all these lanes, they're not all going to stay on them. There's a reason.
No, they're not.
No,
They
there's
never do.
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. In a week after everything's awarded, they're going, hey, TJ, you've been killing it on this. I know these aren't the greatest lanes, but like you've been killing updates and everything. We just had a carrier follow up these 2 lanes. Are these lanes you can maybe price it at?
Yeah.
It might have to be at at this rate or whatever. But those opportunities pop up. People just think that if they don't see them right away, they're not there.
I did an RFP for a customer that we worked with for a couple of years. Great partnership. We got a modest award, not too crazy, something super manageable. And a week and a half later, they came back and like, hey, can you take these 2 lanes that we were primary on before? We're like, absolutely. Here's the rate. Here's what we need to get it done. It always happens, but it wouldn't happen if you didn't execute what they gave you to begin with, right? Like that opportunity doesn't come up. Like Tony's not, I don't have for it. I just see you change the name. So that's hilarious. That opportunity doesn't come up if I don't do my part on the front end. And like, he's probably not going to give me his best, easiest gravy lanes off the jump anyway, because anybody can execute that, right? He needs to know if I can service the stuff that stinks. And like, yeah, it's hard, but that's the point, right? That's how you prove yourself.
Right. We don't.
Or because he's already got a relationship with his good carriers, and he's like, well, I don't want to give it to them.
They're running it. They earned it.
Yeah, I don't know this guy. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Right. The crap always goes to the new guy, and it's no offense. That's just where you got to earn it. And when you earn it, then you get the easy stuff. There's always going to be somebody that situation changes. The driver that lives in that lane moves on to a different carrier, whatever, and then there's opportunity that opens up there. It change is constant in this industry, so you just have to be ready.
Or
You got to keep positioning yourself.
What
I
was
tell
that?
everybody all the time.
go the opposite way.
Right.
You could solve the problem, find another solution. The carrier still screws up, a new carrier. And the Monsignor is saying, I need it here tomorrow. Like last month, I need it here tomorrow. Like, don't you know capacity is an issue and everybody's working behind. And then because my carrier couldn't deliver, I lost the client. And I lost it because the carrier screwed up. So even when I am doing somersaults and cartwheels and going the extra mile to do the right thing, I still get screwed.
Yeah.
So it goes either way.
Those are times too where I find if I'm doing that and I know I could see it kind of coming, I'm letting them know, hey, I'm dying on the hill with you. Right now, I'm all over this. This is the only thing I'm focusing on. And I know you're going to run into those types of things. But if you're dealing with a customer who doesn't understand that things happen in transportation and isn't understanding, even though you're updating, you're way ahead of things, then is it going to be in a good relationship in the long run? Listen, guys, everybody wants to, put customers on a pedestal, and you should, right? Because of service, right? But at the end of the day, you don't know who's in that seat, right? There's some people who just out of college, people that don't care, people don't want to work. There's some great ones. Like, you're going to get a mixed bag at any job. So you may run into somebody who just doesn't care. They don't. And you know why? Because they maybe already know they got a promotion in a month. And they really don't care. Or they know that they're going to another job or whatever it is. There's just so many different scenarios that, if you're doing what you need to do and you're doing the best you can and you're letting them know that, it's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you can at least lay your head down on your pillow saying, hey, listen, I gave it my all. I was doing cartwheels. And this is just what happened. And you learn from it. And you get better from it. And those red flags you start to see, you get better at recognizing before they happen.
I said this a couple of shows ago, but this is something that I learned, and I learned it from an experience rep. It taught me a lot. It's more, so the example is carrier related, but it's very much so shipper related as well. So if I have a new carrier that I'm working with and something goes sideways, which like is inevitable in transportation, I kind of am excited about that because I want to see how they handle it. So I understand whether or not it's someone that you can work with consistently, because stuff happens all the time. And people that freak out or aren't professional with how they handle it or aren't proactive typically don't end up being your best partners. And you take that and you look at it, if you're building relationships with the shipper. I'm trying to work with Tony, who doesn't have freight, and I'm trying to teach him or show him what we do and how we manage our business. I'm going to be so over the top proactive about problem solving and handling it, because that's going to build a better relationship, even if we're messing up, right? I'm like, look, I know we made a mistake. Here's what happened. Here's what we're going to do. Let me show you the things that we're working through, et cetera, so that the only answer he could really have is like, got it. Let me know what happens next, right? Because
Right.
I want to solve every problem. So there's nothing more to take. And like, it's not always going to go over smoothly. There are bumps in the road, but if you handle it properly, that stuff is like bridge under the water. It's like water under the bridge, right? It just happens. Things happen every day. So you want to be able to like really bring that proactive problem solving to it.
That is key. I tell everybody all the time, especially brokers, your acceptable fail rate is 100% higher than mine. I don't have a load that's okay for it to not work. It has to work. They ordered the stuff, we made the stuff, we loaded the stuff. It's got to get there somehow or other. You got to come through. The load, if it's not you, it's got to be somebody else. Somebody's got to get that freight to the customer because they already bought it. We already made it. All the money's already been spent. Now it's got to get there. There is no, we can't do this. That's not an option for me. And as long as everybody in the game understands that, the high volume places that are smile and dial or whatever the terms are, you just can't have that. You have to be able to cover every single one. You're going to eat one. You know what? 3 months from now, I'm going to eat one. I'm going to pay you 3 times what it's worth because we got to get it there. Customer's going to have the emergency.
No fail policy on that. Not as in we're not going to fail on a load, but as in we're not going to give a load back. And that's my owner's always told me, he goes, if you're good enough to make a $500 rip, you're good enough to take a $500 loss. And I think that's the key there, is basically saying, hey, at the end of the day, though, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you should have enough of the profit to wash out the losses. They're just part of it. They're part of the game. If you're scared of it, you're not going to make it, because you have to be able to take those. Now you got to be calculated. And each time you do, you kind of look back and say, okay, what caused that? Was it fixable? You kind of get more efficient, like I said before.
Fail forward.
Yeah, you fail forward with it, right? But I think the key is just making sure that you understand that, delivering bad news, like if you're good at delivering bad news in this industry, you'll be fine. It's the people that don't like delivering that bad news. They don't understand that, like, you're not giving your customer an update because something's going wrong because you don't want to tell them. They're not going to get mad at you. They're not mad at you because the load is late. They're mad because they don't have anything to tell their customer. They didn't buy the freight. Right. You got to give them something to tell their customer. Just give them something, right? That's all they want. It's not the fact that it's late or that something's going wrong. They're upset that you just didn't update them. That's the biggest thing, because now they don't have anything to tell their customers, asking where this freight is at. They can't tell them. Whether it's good or bad news, as long as you get it to them, that's all that matters. And then you guys can figure it out together after that. But you got to be able to deliver bad news. And I always try to follow up bad news with a solution as well. Like, here's bad news,
And call
but
them, don't email.
right. Not only that, yeah, exactly. Get them on the phone. Hey, here's some bad news or whatever, but this is what I'm doing. I'm following up with this, or this is what I'm doing to do this, or whatever it is.
I love the part where you said, you might get some guy right out of college. Man, nobody right out of college gets in. No one's a shipper. They don't do that. This is where the brother-in-law that didn't make it through college gets stuck.
No, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm just saying that, like, your level of passion, your level of care may not match theirs. And that's okay. And that may be the case in other places, but sometimes it may be so far off that it just may not be a good fit, and if you've got that passion or whatever, and you find a customer that will utilize that and appreciate that, that's where it's at, but you gotta make them want to as well, like what Will was saying before, you gotta sell it. Why did it get dark all of a sudden?
I don't know.
I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, yo, what's going on?
You gotta sell your Here, scoot forward a little bit. Try to scoot forward. Maybe that's where it is. There it is. So you got to sell yourself, right? So I found that out when the LinkedIn thing kind of started, because like I had people reaching out to me wanting to do business with me, and they weren't even sure exactly what I did, only because I was kind of out putting out some content. I was on some of these like podcasts or whatever it was, but like I had shown like what my morals were, like what my ethics were, what my processes were, that I was confident in what I was doing, that I had experience, and they wanted to work with somebody like that, and I didn't get that at first. I'm like, this person wants to work with me. They don't even know what I do. But that kind of made me realize that like you could sell your once they want to work with you, they're going to work with you. Will said it, it's a person-to-person relationship no matter what. At the end of the day, I always tell people, these people that are at these customers, at these shippers, they're a lot of times if you look at a brokerage, it's kind of commission-based, salary-based, there's that push. A lot of these, it's salary, right? If you can take care of their stuff and they can go home and watch Netflix, they're good. You know what I mean? Like if you're the guy that on Friday night, it's Friday at 4:30, and your customer's got a date night, right? And they know they can't be late. You know what I mean? Or you want to be the one they're going to call. They'll pay a little bit more. They'll get the loads out to you, and they can trust that. But you got to be that one that they trust, because they have lives. They're real people, right? And if they trust and want to work with you, that's where those opportunities come around. And I used to have those conversations with them, like, hey, when you call me at 8:00, I'll cover any shipment you got. I'm going to charge you more. And here's why. Number one, I just don't. Number one, to find a truck, it's going to be harder. Number two, for me to take time away from my family, right, and do this for you, I want to make it so that it's worth it on my end, but it also helps you. So we're going to be reasonable. We'll work on rate, but like let's make sure that we just get it done and solidified.
Let me tell you the secret from my end.
What I also say is, hey, on that Wednesday at noon, when you email me with these 3 loads that just got handed back to you and you're dying, and you ask me if I could take them at this rate, I'll take them. I'll take a $5 win on 3 loads. I'll take $15 in profit on 3 loads, or maybe just break evens. You know what I mean? Because I'm helping you out on that back end. That's what I'm looking out for now.
Let me tell you the shipper side of that story too. You know what? I'm paying freight, but it doesn't come out of my paycheck. It's okay if it's 8:00 on a Thursday night.
Almost everybody's always like, open checkbook. But at the same time, you also want them to understand that, hey, I'm still going to price it logically. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I need to make a little bigger rip than I usually would. I'm not going to call it a rip, but but at the same time, we'll know sometime about. But at the same time, they know that, right? I mean, the fact that I got to get, I got to rip 2 kids off my legs, go in, get on my laptop, post a truck up, make calls, get it covered. They know that's tough to do.
It didn't used to be like that. You used to have to get up. Your wife wakes you up because I didn't hear the phone, and then you had to drive over to the shop and run the paperwork on the computer. We didn't have that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That is wild. And so far before I got into the game, I cannot imagine sending. Just no chance I'm sending a fax to Raycon.
Oh my gosh.
Tony's out there. Tony used to send updates. He used to go up he'd light one lantern when on site, and
we had bank tubes
loaded. Is that right?
Yep. Everything was bank tubes.
That's so funny.
I love the fact I had to get up and go get on my laptop. Man, I would have died for that. Man. That would have been awesome.
But you
get up, warm up the car, and drive into work.
Talk about relationships with customers. Talk about, I think what the main point here is that brokers need to understand that you're not that far off. It doesn't take that much. Here's the deal. Brokers started to get a bad name when things started to scale. When things started to go to these bigger brokers, and the model went to throw seats or throw butts in the chairs, right? Throw bodies at it, right? Bring kids right out of college, don't train them, throw them on there. They're in for 3 months and they're out, right? That became a thing, turn and burn, right? There wasn't as much, nowadays you could see more and more because of the bad publicity that kind of gave brokers, that's kind of being a kind of a taboo thing, right? Like, we're developing people and culture and all that stuff. But for a while there, that's what it was. And that's what you're getting. You're getting a truck driver that's been driving for 30 years, on the phone with a rep that's been in the industry for 2 weeks and doesn't give 2 shits. Or it hasn't been trained. Maybe not in their fault. They weren't trained. But, it doesn't take much to really push yourself over the edge of what most brokers appear to shippers like Tony, where he said, most time my brokers let me down, right? Or they fell off or whatever. Just don't give a load back, follow through, update the hell out of them, whether there's something going right or wrong. Brandon Bay used to always say this. You want to stand out when you're making sales calls? He used to call people and he'd go, yeah, he goes, well, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna move a lot of freight for you. We're doing a great job, but things are gonna go wrong. I'm gonna have trucks break down. We're probably gonna be late on a couple shipments. Maybe even ship the wrong product. Who knows? But you're gonna know about it. You're the first to know about it ASAP. I'm gonna fix the problem for you. We're gonna figure it out. And we're gonna get better as we go. It's transportation. Things happen. That's just the reality of it. I can tell you that we're perfect and nothing ever goes wrong, but I think you and I both know that's not the case. And that really is just how it is. If you're updating and communicating, you're that much farther along than most people.
So the thing that I was thinking about as you were saying that, for me, just brought a couple things full circle, but essentially I think leadership, coaching, and training have so much to do with people's ability to build those relationships and people's ability to actually service and follow through with what they do for a shipper. And here's what I mean by that, right? So if I am investing in my people and teaching them why we do what we do and spending time to explain to them why it matters and spending time to explain to them why it matters to their shipper and really ingraining in them, here's the reason why you want to provide this exceptional service, they're going to do that because they're much more bought in and understand why it matters full circle. Like if you don't explain to people why all those things and all those different points come together, none of it matters. But on top of that, there are always people that are going to excel above and beyond. There are always people that are going to be like middle of the pack, and there's always going to be like slackers, right? If you're in this industry willing to just roll your sleeves up and send that extra email, make that phone call you don't want to make, right? Be transparent when you're like, this is the tough conversation I have to have, you will win this game. But there's going to be people that are going to listen to this or like get the coaching and they just won't do it, right? And those aren't the ones that Tony and the Tonys of the world are going to have the best relationships with. And that's one of the most exciting parts about what we're building and what we're doing here, because if you can instill those values in people, you can run laps around the competition because it's not actually that hard. You just have to care. Like it's really not that hard.
No, you can.
I just talked to somebody today. We've got a couple. Some of the best people I've seen that in this industry were, who's I talking to today? Guys way up in our company, and he's like, was talking about how he had a learning disability growing up. And he didn't get to go to college. He didn't go to college or anything, but he just was a hard ass worker. That's all he knew to do. And that's all it is, man. Just come in. You don't have to know how to send an email, make a call or anything. You learn that, but you can't learn just grinding, sitting down and grinding and taking care of people, like just taking care of that customer, taking care of everything that needs taken care of. And, you find little things. For me, it ended up being the handle it thing, right? That was just something I did when I was managing my accounts, and they knew like, listen, me, I joke around with them and relate with them. We'd have a good time. But when I went into handle it mode, like when they called me and like, hey, TJ, man, there's an issue here. I'm like, I got it. I wouldn't even let them they literally would call me like, TJ, hey, I just got a call from the shipper. The carrier showed up and I'd be like, nope, I got it. Going to handle it mode. Yep, got it. Done. It wouldn't even let them finish almost because I kind of already knew what was going on anyways. And it became kind of a thing that I tried to pass on, and, we made an award for it and everything, but to handle it, like just basically, as long as you're in that mode of like, I'm going to handle whatever comes my way, whether I fail at it or not. Right. I just told everybody, like, I'm sorry, but you should think of like things that are happening around you should bug you. Right. So if you're sitting there and just at a picnic table out in the park and there's flies around you, what are you doing? You're swatting at them, right? You're not hitting every one of them, but you're swatting at them because they're bugging you, right? It should be the same thing. When you're sitting at your desk and you're seeing things going around and things that are happening, you should be swatting at every one of those, trying to fix and trying to figure out each one of those, and not just letting things slide through. Oh, this one won't be seen, or this one won't happen. The small things like that should be so important to you. And when they become important to you, you don't realize how much it actually gets noticed. I tell people all the time, you don't know how much we actually go sit in a room, and talk about who's doing well and new opportunities. People don't even know sometimes what opportunities are coming down the line, right? You don't even know how well you're being seen. And we're sitting there going, well, this person or this person, well, that person's been killing it, man. Not at all. Well, this person's kind of been out of their seat a lot lately. They haven't been doing much, to that person. I think they're being noticed on that, but they are. And so the more and more you just focus on like the little things and what you can do to make yourself better, people notice, even if you don't think they do.
Tony, you were about to drop some secret information
What's that for us, Tony?
I don't remember what I was going after.
Sorry.
He was
Yeah.
off on a tangent. I let him go.
Sorry. God, Tony.
That's all right.
Rub it in. You don't have anything, Tony? You have nothing, Tony? Really? Nothing to share?
No, the relationships are always the key, and being able to handle it when that mindset works in every facet of the business. It doesn't have to just be a broker. If you're in a shipping role, handle it, figure it out, make it happen.
So we talked about building a relationship, maintaining a relationship, but with the growth, right? One big thing I always talk to people about, that new brokers in the industry especially, is one of the hardest parts of managing is getting people to understand that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because a lot of times you can't see it because there's all different directions. You're going into the tunnel blindfolded, right? Basically into a dark tunnel already. And so you got to let them know like what's there and all the different opportunities that just pop up. As long as you're moving forward, there are things that pop up. But when you start building those relationships, you don't know what other division those customers have. They could have an expedite division. They could have a flatbed division. They could have a reefer, final mile, right? I mean, how much research have you done? And even if you have done some research, there's stuff in there that you don't know about and that get around. People talk, right? I just helped out Erin on 5 different shipments, just killed it. She's at the water cooler now, talking to her buddy down there who works on the flatbed side, and just bragging about it. And he's thinking, well, shit, I need somebody that. I was just thinking about that, like, or they go in a meeting and a big project comes up. They're like, skip circle a shot. He's been killing it. Or, little things like that just pop up out of nowhere. Next thing you know, you get an email with a mini bid, or you get an email with a project opportunity, or some new load planner you've never heard of. Those things go so far, but you don't see those all the time.
That's where communication is key. But I don't know what the hell a mini bid is. I don't know what any of that's. RFQs, I know what that is. Apparently people send out.
Well, people with freight, what they do is they say, oh, hey, our customer ordered this. It's going to have to ship over 4 weeks of time or something, like here's a project type thing.
That does sound tedious and terrible.
So
where you're going with
this project, you can. These lanes, you want to.
You got an email, buddy.
I know. I'm getting blown up.
Here's how you solve that, TJ. You fix that thing by adding a private fleet. That's what we did.
You see how stale my face got? I'm like, I don't know about that.
What if one of your private fleet drivers calls in sick? What if 3 of them call in sick? Then what?
I got local contractors.
You want EAT? Oh, local contractors.
I do. I kid you not. This dude used to work for me. He bought a truck. Good for him. I hired him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the Swift guys that are sitting down at the truck stop. Go down there with a business card. Hey guys, I don't have any freight, but here's my business card just in case I need you. We know how the game works, Tony.
Gravy.
I hope your inbox blows up after this.
It does every.
Everybody call Tony. He's got a ton of freight. Just kidding.
No.
No, listen. Hey, don't call Tony. Damn it. The guys got the balls to come out here as a shipper, and you don't see any other shippers coming out here doing this. Leave the guy alone unless you're really hungry and go after it. But he doesn't really have anything. I promise.
I don't even answer the inboxes anymore because they don't even.
Listen, big customers like that, there's certain ways and certain ones work, right? He's in the headquarters. They produce RV parts. He's in the RV production capital of the world. Half his stuff ships half a mile. So unless you got some carriers that are dedicated to go half a mile, give him a call.
Yeah, your rates are too high going that half a mile anyways. It won't matter.
I thought you were on rates, Tony.
I don't have rates. We have local contractors.
You know what, Will? What do you got, Will? You got anything?
So,
I bring Erin on. It's supposed to be this great show. She's all excited. This is what we get.
TJ, I have a question for you. So we
Me.
kicked around essentially saying, once you build that relationship, how can that relationship get you from maybe a couple of loads to almost all, if not all of the freight that a shipper moves? What does that look like? How have you seen that happen with relationships that you've built over the years?
Well, a lot of times it just happens once I start building that relationship and we start talking, right? They're going to talk to you about other things that went wrong. Like, this carrier over here on this lane's killing me, right? Or the stuff out of this plant's killing me. And this happened. And one thing I was talking to Erin about before, Erin's like, I don't do like cold call sales or this and that. I said, that's no problem, right? We're bringing you for a certain role. But, when I do my best sales is really when I'm busy, but I always have my eyes open for opportunity. Right. So I may be doing something and busy, but like you guys got to recognize where opportunity
Ear
is
to
and
the
where it
ground.
isn't. Yeah, ear to the ground, right? So, but when you're talking to your customer and they're going on and on, those are times when you say, hey, what if we looked at just, let's look at maybe, pricing these out, take our time, but let's maybe put a strategy around maybe, give you a little bit of time to source some carriers on this. And you already know our process, give me time to get, three or four more people on the team over here, kind of build this around it. And let's build this so that you're getting the same thing every single time for every single load. Right. But, let's do it right. That's all I tell them, let's do it right. Let's get,
Yeah, right,
let's get 3, 4, 5 more people on my team over here. You already know my processes, my standard operating procedures, how I do things. And let's build it around your freight and grow that, but if we do it correctly, it takes a little bit of time, but it's something that you can really build on. And now you've got it all handled by one. Now, as a 3PL, existing 3PL, you're selling that anyways. But you could do that with just having a customer relationship by saying, hey, whether it's just all out of one plant, whether it's somebody that handles multiple plants, whether it's, whatever it is, but you can get to where you're saying, hey, if you like what I'm doing and I'm your go-to person, there's no reason why we can't look at how to scale this together. We take our time and piece it together so it makes sense, but let's get it to where we have all the freight. It's good for me. It's good for you.
Yeah, I think I just think about opportunities that we have, and these have been, relationships 4 years long, right? We've had the same freight for 4 years. And you think about how much that's grown and the fact that freight isn't going anywhere, but it just comes with the consistency piece. And like you mentioned, when you frame it the right way and they go, gosh, this load just fell back in my lap. You're like, I got you. Like, I'll take care of it. Right. And the truck shows up and they're like, oh, okay. Truck showed up. Right. You do that week after week after week, more and more opportunities come out of that, but it kind of all spawns from the consistency and the service piece. So there's always more.
How serious you are. So I had a customer that I knew they were just even just to get in with them, we had to really prove ourselves, right? Well, we're doing great. I got a good relationship with the guy. I flew down to Dallas once a quarter. I committed to them that I'd come down from Fort Wayne, Indiana to Dallas once a quarter to sit down, go over our performance, go over everything. Well, because I consistently did that, and they knew that they'd have me in a conference room once a quarter, that's when that conversation started on, hey, this is a drop trailer shipper. How can we get this so it's more live load, right? How can we transition? I'm sitting there strategizing with them on how we can get more freight, right? Because our capacity can only do so much, right? To the point where we ended up having all of the freight, right, for them. Because I was there every single quarter, flew 1,400 miles, 1,200 miles, whatever it was, I don't know, every quarter consistently. And they knew they'd have me there, right? And they knew that we were sitting down having a good conversation, and I was serious about it. I knew what I was doing, and I knew their freight, and I got to know their network as well as they knew it. And as soon as that clicks for them, it takes a year or two, maybe more. That clicks for them. They're a lot more comfortable saying, hey, let's look at pricing out and giving you all of this, right? Even if it's just out of one plant, like I said before, or if it's just another project or another opportunity or another division, it doesn't matter. As soon as you see, like once they see you're bought in and you're all in, they'll throw opportunities to you that you don't even know we're there.
It's 1,023 miles, by the way.
I figured it was. I was on truckrouter.com. I didn't do the direct flight. I apologize. Got to go around Arlington.
How long did it take you to get all of their freight? And when do you know, when does something, I mean, I've never said to anybody, hey, you've got all of our freight.
Sometimes you never will. It's just not their model. Some of these guys are told what to do from the top, and they have no choice. But
that's a lot of people are.
Exactly. But when you find those, and you will, right? When you find those that have a little bit of a choice, or one big thing I started doing was, I'm sorry, but like back when I was account manager, everybody thought I was operations manager. I just told them I was. I wanted them to know that, like, I had some clout. I was going to take care of everything. This is back before we even had titles at the old office. Wild West. But I wanted them to know that I knew what I was doing, and I would have those higher level conversations too. So I didn't just make relationships with the load planners, right? I made relationships with their ops managers, right? With their procurement managers. And I picked their brains on what they're told and it's why I learned quite a bit was sitting in these boardrooms, talking to these guys about if they're handling X customer's freight, and they're shipping to this person, like what their expectations are, like what they're held accountable for, right? And how I can even fit in that. And sometimes you can get as much as you possibly can under their model, And sometimes, you know, depending on shipper, you could get all of it, you know, but it just depends on how far you actually care and try to learn their stuff and have those conversations with them where it's fluid. You know, you guys know exactly what each other's talking about, and that's what it's about. Let those guys go worry about purchasing. Let them worry about the POs. Let them worry about everything else. They know as soon as they need a truck, TJ's got it. From there, it's done.
That's another key opportunity that you brought up. You know, every place that's shipping something, if you get a load for them and you're looking to grow your business, ask to talk to their purchasing manager. Their purchasing manager is having a problem getting supplies, guaranteed, especially now.
Yep.
If you get a load for them, chances are they're having a problem getting a load. Talk to them. Ask for the name of their purchasing guy or girl or supervisor or whatever. Because I guarantee if they're shipping something out, they had to bring it in first.
Mhm.
Huge opportunity there. Mimi always talks about that, getting the purchasing team on board too.
Yeah.
Definitely an opportunity.
Even if you can't get the purchasing team on board, just understand how it works.
Yep.
Have a conversation. Hey, how much do you deal with the purchasing team? Or are you the purchasing team? You're gonna deal with some shippers where that guy's the shipper, the purchaser, the janitor.
That.
You know what I mean? You know, Tony, hell, he's janitor, shipper, everything.
Back when I was driving, I would deliver to some places and the guy was like, you know, he wants a skid single stacked and they were 1,100 pounds a piece. And, you know, it'd take up the whole trailer if they were all on the floor. And all he had was his electric pallet jack. And he's like, what if I forget to charge my pallet jack? I'm like, well, I guess you're screwed. You know, talk to your buyer. And he's like, I am the buyer. This dude was the unloading the trucks. He was the buyer. He was.
Go buy a pallet jack.
Right.
Prove your own rate.
A process where when you turn off the lights, you check to see that your forklift or your pallet plugged in. There you go. Problem solved.
But you could also get creative and figure it out. I mean, like there's ways to figure things out. I mean, I know my neighbors growing up, man, they were a team, husband and wife. And we lived out in the middle of the country. And they were like from Arizona, but they bought this like big house out in the middle of the country because they ran cross country. But they were their own, they had their own MC number. And that's big old Kenworth rig, man. They like stepped down into a shower and shit. It was awesome. But they were so smart and creative. Like they had a specialized trailer. They had their own trailer. And they ran a load for somebody. They went down to Vanderbilt University. And they were running E-stem research. So like stem cell research. And it was 2 freezers. Well, they got down there and they were never told that it had to be temperature controlled. So these freezers had like, they couldn't, like if the freezers went above a certain temperature, alarms went off. Like it was pretty high stuff. And it was going out to Colorado, out to I think the Air Force Base or whatever it was. So they showed up and they're like, they were getting good money on it. They wanted to build relationships at that time. And they're like, yeah, we gotta have temperature control. Like there's no way around it. Like if this goes over a certain temp, these alarms go off. I mean, it ruins all of this stem cell research. I mean, that's like huge. So the guy literally says, all right, I know you probably got to look for another truck. Give us a couple hours. Can we come back a couple hours? I think I got an idea. Guy went down to Home Depot. Okay. He bought so they had a lift gate on their specialized trailer. He bought a generator, put it on the lift gate, bought some 2x4s, and he only needed the back quarter of the trailer, right? Or was it the nose, whatever it was. He needed a quarter of the trailer. So he built a frame with insulation and put a air conditioning in it with the cord running to the generator, right? With buckets underneath for the condensation, right? And put baby monitors in the back and then in the cab. So if the alarms went off, he could hear them. And showed back up and they loaded him and thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And he still does business with them today with all these cool shipments and stuff. And he knows going in now ahead of time, like what all they need. He was given poor information. They admitted that, but he went and did that. He figured that out. Like little things like that's extreme, but like that right there is saying, hey, this freight needs to move. Give me a shot. Give me a second. You know, maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe you'll go with it. Maybe you won't. But that's something that's like, I mean, that's getting it done. And that goes a long way. Now look, now he's been running for these guys forever. And these guys, it's just them, just a husband and wife team.
There's a lot of respect to be given for people that have the ability to problem solve. If you're a good problem solver, you will do very well in freight and transportation, because that's most of what we do every day, finding a way to solve problems. And it speaks volumes when you can come back to a shipper or even a carrier and say, hey, here's what I got for you, right? Like it might not be perfect, but like, here's what I got for you. And being able to take that step proactively is huge. So I can't say that I've ever built myself a makeshift baby monitoring refrigerated quarter of a trailer. Mad respect. But when last minute orders come over and somebody needs a truck, you find a way to get it done.
But when you find somebody that's open to have that conversation, because obviously he sat and he talked to the guy before he went and bought all this, did all this. But when he sat and he drew it up for the guy and said what he could do, and the guy approved it, that right there goes to show that's somebody you want to partner with. I'm sorry, but I want to partner with somebody where I come up with an idea and it makes sense and it's going to work, and they say, go with it, man. You know what I mean? Like that right there, he knew right away. He's like, boom, we're going to nail this thing. Like, cause like, you know, he put everything he had into it, because he's like, he came up with the ideas, you know, obviously drew it out with schematics and stuff before he went and purchased it all. But because it made sense and it worked, he was good to go. So, I mean, the little things like that, always looking for opportunities, you know, always kind of grinding and moving forward.
DJ, your phone's ringing, buddy.
I know.
It's blowing up. You got to go build one of those reapers.
But you know, I've had opportunities where, like, you know, we've had, like, I remember we had a customer. It was like we had 2 contracted lanes. That's it. This is a big customer. I've been trying to break out. I've been up to visit him probably 3 different times. We had $1.80 a mile on these 2 lanes, and I had talked to him about his expedite division because I knew there was a ton of money there, and we do great at expedites. And he's like, you know, it's tough. You go let him in the front door. I'm sorry, it is my HR guy. He's in the front door. So you know, it's tough to get in with them though. They got strict scorecard. You know, they only let so many carriers in. Blah blah blah. And so one day he emails me. He said, "Hey man, my customers came back to me. He said that these 2 lanes that you're $1.80 mile on, he wants it to come down to like $1.20, $1.25." And I'm like, oh, I read that. And I'm like, there's no way. And I said, you know what? How about this? I said, I want to grow with you, right? We both want to be successful. I will take these at $1.20, $1.25 a mile if you set us up on the expedite side. And sure enough, after 3 visits, all these, you know, of him saying no, he's like, done. Adding in Aaron, get Circle Logistics set up on expedites. Right there, boom. Like my first thought was, there's no way. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take $1.25. And sure enough, now it's one of our biggest expedite accounts.
That's awesome.
Just a guess. I didn't know if he'd go with it, but sometimes the people that listen to you and take your ideas and run with them, like I said before, are the ones you want to work with. Unlike Tony. Tony just talked to Tony about an idea. Well, I don't have any freight. It's not.
I don't have any ideas either.
Who do you know that does have freight, Tony? Name them.
I know some steel shipping folks. I know some. I don't know. There's parts of Lippert that have freight. That are.
You need leads. I'm sorry, but go on Google.
There you go.
Tony leads. Probably a bunch of old dudes he plays cricket with on Sundays, anyways.
Cricket.
Yeah.
You probably play cricket, don't you, Tony? All right, guys. Hey, did a lot of gabbing. Aaron gave me some shots beforehand. Just kidding. Not really. We keep it classy here.
Did you broke your leg a while back, didn't you? Didn't you have a cast on, TJ?
Me?
Yeah. The first time I met you, you were hobbling around on crutches. Remember I wrote you, this guy is stupid, right on your cast, and you said, oh my gosh, all you're doing is adding insult to injury. You remember that? Then we got a hacienda. Oh,
I went with the hacienda, but I was never hobbling around. I never flown ever, Tony.
Insult to injury. You didn't get it. Come on, man. You can't.
Joke?
You're not doing this without a dad joke.
Oh well. This just in.
Good grief.
A local man was swallowed whole by a whale today. However, he made it out. He ran as hard as he could to the back till he was all pooped out.
Well, I know you got to go, so I got to go too.
What in the world?
Aaron, I'm sorry.
Another thing in the news, Hugh Hefner made the news. He was successful in disbanding a group of local monks that were on his property. Got him off his property. Now they had a flower stand, and they were selling flowers out there. These monks were, and Hugh Hefner was able to get him off his property and everything. And it only goes to show, it goes to show that it truly is true that only Hugh can prevent florist friars.
Since I'm the only one that hasn't dropped one, I'll jump this in and then I'm leaving. Does anyone know what kind of pants Mario wears?
Mm-mm.
Denim, denim, denim.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's good.
Oh,
It's really
thanks,
good.
Will. You
Nick,
make-
Nick Lachey got
I'm
caught last
out.
one here. Nick Lachey got caught murdering 2 cows in a field with 2 small little trinket figures. Police say it was the first known case of a knick-knack paddywhack.
Wow. You see the 2 antennas that met on a roof, fell in love, got married. The wedding was terrible, but the reception was outstanding.
That's what you need, Tony. Is better reception up there in Elkhart.
Amen, brother.
All right, Tony doesn't have any freight. I've got 2